In a dark forest, a creepy hunter spots a rare prize. A terrified girl struggles to break free from his grip. Suddenly, three guys surround her with absolute villain energy. But she doesn't hesitate, delivering a brutal kick straight to his family jewels. She bolts through the woods, desperate to escape this terrifying world of dangerous orcs. Knowing they'll catch her easily, she pushes herself to the limit. But she hits a dead end at the edge of a massive cliff. A pack of giant wolves corners her against the drop. The alpha smugly tells her she has no choice but to be theirs. Instead of submitting, she boldly declares she belongs to no one. She takes a leap of faith right off the edge, praying this nightmare is just a dream. As she plunges into the water, she begs to go back to her old life. Turns out her name is Xia Yinuan, a totally normal high school senior. While everyone else stressed over exams, she was already set for university. Today was supposed to be her last chill day reporting to school. She didn't have any friends, preferring to stay out of sight and out of mind. But her bright future got completely derailed by a stray basketball to the face. That one accident changed everything. When she woke up, she found herself surrounded by weird bird people in an orc-filled world. She tried every crazy method she could think of to trigger a portal home. After failing miserably, she spots a ritual to communicate with the gods and decides to crash it. She leaps right into the glowing water to test her luck and falls perfectly into the arms of an absolutely majestic, blonde-haired guy. He stares down at her while she slowly opens her eyes. She's totally convinced she's just dreaming up a top-tier fantasy man. But then he speaks, telling her she's wide awake. Panicking, she scrambles into a nearby cave, screaming at him to stay back. He completely ignores her, taking slow, confident steps forward. He pins her against the wall, demanding to know her tribe and why she's alone. She yells at him for getting too close, but she's clearly distracted. Because his physique is absolutely built like a Greek god. Blushing hard, she struggles to keep her cool. He leans in to sniff her and notices she doesn't have any male markings. Without missing a beat, he confidently claims her as his own. He literally just declares she's his female now. She completely short-circuits, rejecting his wild claim. Thinking fast, she gestures for him to lower his head. And the moment he leans in, she absolutely headbutts him with everything she's got. But the dude is built like a tank, so he just gently lifts her chin without a scratch. Meanwhile, she's the one holding her bruised forehead, crying and blaming him for her own attack. He just strokes her hair, calling her delicate and promising to protect her. She shoves his chest, desperately bluffing that her tribe is coming to beat him up. He just effortlessly scoops her up like a rag doll. He introduces himself as Zilao, leader of the Moonstone tribe, swearing to crush anyone who tries to take her. He carries her right out of the cave like it's nothing. She furiously yells at him for acting like a total gangster. They arrive at a sunny lake and he finally sets her down. He casually notes how light she is, asking if she's a kitten since his own beast form is a mighty lion. This instantly triggers her, and she furiously scratches at him because cats are the weakest beasts in this world. To finally shut her up, he suddenly leans in and steals a kiss. Zilao leans in close, smoothly telling her she needs to smell like him before meeting other males. He pins her down and she totally panics, thinking things are about to get strictly R-rated. Instead of giving in, she absolutely claps him across the face, calling him a gangster. Just as another guy shows up, Zilao picks her up and kisses her forehead to mark his territory. With a glowing red handprint on his cheek, she assumes he's going to strike back and grabs a handful of dirt. She disrespectfully smears the mud right into his perfect face and yells at him to back off. While he's temporarily blinded, she makes a mad dash for freedom. She bolts through the woods, internally hyping herself up for rejecting an all-powerful orc. But Zilao just wipes his face, stubbornly declaring he'll never let her leave. Her escape is cut short when she bursts out of the bushes and runs straight into the same wolf pack from earlier. The wolves corner her again, and she's absolutely fed up with these relentless creeps. Backing away, she realizes she's totally out of options and mourns her stolen first kiss. But then she remembers the scent Zilao left on her from that exact kiss. Thinking fast, she starts fanning herself, wafting the scent right at the hungry wolves. The wolves instantly sniff the air and freeze, sensing the aura of a massively powerful orc. She confidently bluffs, claiming the Moonstone chief marked her and they're dead if they touch her. Hearing Zilao's name, the wolves start sweating bullets. She smirks at her own genius, unaware that Zilao's terrifying spirit lion is literally looming right behind her. The wolves immediately bow down like cowards, stammering that it was all a big misunderstanding. She gets cocky, yelling at them for driving her off a cliff earlier when a deep voice suddenly repeats her words. She nods without thinking, then freezes as she realizes she wasn't the one who spoke. Suddenly, a massive paw swipes through the air, absolutely yeeting the wolves into the stratosphere. A giant beast steps forward and she cowers, begging for her life. Her brain short-circuits and she faints dead away in front of a giant, goofy-looking lion. When she peeks open an eye to play dead, she realizes the lion sounds exactly like Zai. It finally clicks, this giant furball is actually him. Right before her eyes, he transforms back into his god-tier human form. He effortlessly scoops her up again, planting another kiss on her head just to flex. He carries her off bridal style while she sulks about getting caught so easily. She spends the whole ride vividly fantasizing about punching him right in the nose. But their romantic stroll is interrupted when a giant eagle screeches from above. A group of winged beastmen crash land, demanding Zai hand over their tribe member. She instantly perks up, recognizing the leader's voice as her ticket out. She confirms she belongs to their tribe, planning a sneaky escape while Zai continues to aggressively simp over her. Zai glares at the birdman, coldly stating she is his female now. She immediately wiggles free and runs behind the birdman, calling Zai a total kidnapper. The birdman shields her, telling Zai that females in their tribe have free will, kicking off a tense standoff. She hides behind her new squad, totally ready to watch these guys brawl it out. But the beef is interrupted when some tribe members rush in carrying an unconscious guy. The tension drops as the newcomers frantically ask for help. Zai immediately drops the tough guy act and asks what happened to the victim. An elder explains the guy drowned while fishing and completely stopped breathing. Zai checks his vitals and grimly announces that he's a goner. But she completely interrupts, shouting that the guy might just be in a death-like state and she can save him. A lioness aggressively hisses at her to back off. But Zai trusts her, asking for her plan, and she tells him to lift the guy up. Following her instructions, Zai hoists the drowned guy up by the waist to clear his lungs. Zai watches nervously, totally skeptical of this weird human first aid method. He shakes his head, telling her it's hopeless, but she refuses to quit and starts whacking the guy's back like a drum. And against all odds, the guy coughs up a lungful of water and snaps awake. Against all odds, the drowned guy starts coughing up water and opens his eyes. Zai excitedly grabs her hands, asking if she's some kind of legendary great healer. The tribe elder bows deeply, thanking her for working a literal miracle. He formally invites her to join the massive Moonstone tribe, while she sweats over the fact she just did basic CPR. But she remembers a rumor that big tribes hold the secrets of this world, which could be her ticket home. She realizes she has to stick with this overpowered lion dude. Even though it completely feels like a lamb walking straight into a tiger's den. She hesitates to leave the birdman who saved her, but their leader, Cheng Yan, gently pats her head and tells her to go. He softly reminds her this is her best chance to find a way back to her world. Out of nowhere, Zai aggressively grabs Cheng Yan's wrist, warning him to keep his hands off his female. To stop the beef, she boldly declares she'll only join if the entire bird tribe merges with them. Cut to the whole squad traveling back on a literal fleet of giant lions. She rides on Zai beast form, screaming for her life as he takes massive leaps. She starts slipping off, so he pulls a flawless midair transformation back into human form. He catches her smoothly, whispering an apology for the bumpy ride. She blushes furiously, totally struggling to resist a guy this insanely handsome. She quickly snaps out of it, just as Cheng Yan lands and accidentally steps right on a lion cub. Zai instantly body blocks her from the birdman, going full overprotective boyfriend mode. She just breathes a sigh of relief, glad both tribes agreed to team up before winter hits. The little lion cub suddenly pops up, telling her to ride him instead because he's way more stable. Zai brutally bonks his little brother on the head and tells him to get lost. She bursts out laughing, totally respecting the kid's guts for trash-talking the boss. Zai gently takes her hand, promising to keep her safe for the rest of the trip. They finally make it to the Moonstone tribe's massive, sprawling camp. Meanwhile, a pink-haired girl named Yabing is obsessing over her looks, hoping the chief notices her. Her little minions hype her up, claiming she's the only one worthy of being his wife. Yabing smirks, completely buying into her own hype. As the great shaman's daughter, she's been waiting for Zai to come home and claim her. Back outside, Zai shows our girl his massive main tent. The entire tribe swarms them, hyped out of their minds that the chief has returned. Yabing pushes to the front of the crowd, eagerly calling his name. Our girl's eyes light up, absolutely thrilled to finally see another woman in this crazy world. But Yabing immediately catches an attitude, pointing fingers and demanding to know who she is. The elder quickly steps in, scolding his daughter for disrespecting the new great healer. Yabing is flabbergasted, refusing to believe this random girl has magic healing powers. The crowd starts murmuring in awe, while our girl decides it's best to just keep her mouth shut. Yabing seethes with pure jealousy over how close she is to the chief. She angrily lunges forward, trying to rip our girl away from him. But Zai snatches her back as Yabing screams that only his future wife belongs by his side. Without hesitating, Zilao effortlessly tosses our girl onto his shoulder like a sack of potatoes. He addresses the crowd, officially announcing the merge with the bird tribe. The people go wild, hyping up their chief for casually conquering another clan. Then he drops the absolute nuke, declaring her as the new healer and his future chiefess. The crowd starts gossiping immediately, noting the chief clearly prefers delicate girls over Yabing. Yabing shakes with absolute rage, completely humiliated in front of the whole camp. Adding insult to injury, the little lion cub bites her dress and drags her away to cool off. Meanwhile, our girl starts panicking as Zilao's hand casually rests on her leg. He tells her to hold tight, totally distracted by how ridiculously soft her skin is. With the whole tribe watching, she furiously demands he put her down. He completely ignores her, carrying her straight into his private tent where no one can hear them. She shoves Zilao away, frustrated that he's already trying to break their deal. She literally pins him to the bed, demanding answers. But Zilao is completely unfazed and smoothly grabs her wrist. He pulls her in for a quick kiss, totally ignoring her complaints. Meanwhile, in a completely different part of the tribe, a cat girl named Sufei is getting cozy with her blue-haired boyfriend. But she won't stop whining about some other dude named Kyangsi, which completely kills the vibe. Her guy gets annoyed and walks off, telling her to go be with Kyangsi if she cares so much. Sufei curses him out, furious that none of her current men are doing exactly what she wants. She vows absolute revenge on a girl named Yinju for allegedly stealing her best guys. Later, Sufei visits a severely injured Kyangsi, putting on the perfect, caring girlfriend act. The local nurse leaves them alone, totally falling for the innocent routine. But the second the door closes, Sufei's face drops into a furious, evil glare. She completely drops the act and violently smacks the dying guy across the face. Kyangsi wakes up happy to see her, but she instantly verbally wrecks him for failing his mission. He's completely heartbroken, desperately reminding her of their promise to get married. But Sufei is ruthless, calling him ugly and telling him he's absolutely useless to her now. The stress causes him to cough up blood, so she instantly switches back to her fake crying act. She screams for help, playing the tragic lover just as her other boyfriend rushes in. Kyangsi finally realizes he was just a pawn and cries over his pathetic, wasted sacrifice. After he passes away, Sufei fakes her grief for a single day before moving right on to her next male. Meanwhile, the girl Sufei hates, Yinju, is actually mourning the poor guy. She sighs, unable to get used to how brutally cheap life is in this wild beast world. Her guy friend tries to cheer her up, pulling her to her feet to go dry some bamboo shoots. But she loses her balance and trips backward. He catches her flawlessly, creating some serious, unexpected romantic tension. And without missing a beat, he leans in and asks for a kiss. Cutting back to the main plot, a tribesman shows our girl and Cheng Yan a new spot for the bird tribe to settle. But our girl instantly shoots it down, demanding a better location. Zilao agrees, knowing that edge of the camp is totally prone to wild animal attacks. The guide suggests a spot further away, but our girl insists both tribes need to live closely together. Cheng Yan backs her up, saying they need to integrate as fast as possible. The guide awkwardly admits the prime central spots are strictly reserved for the chief's family. Cheng Yan humbly declines the special treatment, but Zilao steps up. He generously offers up his own VIP spots, proving he's a top-tier leader. Cheng Yan leads our girl away to pick a tent, but Zilao yanks her right back. He looks her dead in the eye and tells her she isn't living out there. He drags her all the way back to his massive personal tent. But as soon as they walk in, the annoying pink-haired girl Yabing is already waiting inside. Our girl glares at Zilao, demanding to know why his fan club is in their room. Zilao acts totally clueless, saying he let her in and asking if there's an issue. Yabing smugly announces that only the chief's family or future wife can enter his tent. Our girl tries to dip out, but Zilao grabs her and completely shuts Yabing down, demanding respect for the new chiefess. Yabing absolutely loses her mind, screaming about how unfair this is. She cries that they grew up together and were basically destined to get married. Zilao is ice cold, bluntly stating he doesn't have to marry every girl he played in the dirt with. He pulls our girl close, declaring he never even wanted a chiefess until he met her. Our girl internally panics, realizing his serious, protective face is way too handsome to resist. Zilao physically blocks Yabing, telling her this romance is none of her business. Humiliated and rejected, Yabing screams that she hates him and runs out crying. Our girl just sighs, realizing this ridiculously hot guy is going to bring her nothing but absolute drama. Zilao sighs and calls her a total magnet for trouble, though he secretly thinks her innocence is cute. Meanwhile, Yabing runs away bawling her eyes out, blaming our girl for ruining her shot with the chief. She bumps right into Sha Gang, Moonstone's absolute unit of a top warrior who demands to know who hurt her. Playing the ultimate victim, Yabing totally turns on the waterworks. She literally flings herself at his chest like a drama queen. She cries, asking him if she's really just annoying. Gang instantly loses his mind, absolutely furious that anyone would disrespect his crush. Back with the main duo, our girl is pouting, imagining Zilao constantly surrounded by fangirls because of his god-tier looks. Completely distracted, she misses a rock and trips right over it. But Zilao catches her with flawless riz, pulling her close in a literal bed of flowers. While she's getting flustered, an angry shout suddenly shatters the romantic tension. Gang barges into the camp and straight up clocks Cheng Yan in the jaw. The meathead mocks Cheng Yan, calling his bird tribe way too weak for Moonstone. He orders them to pack their bags and leave, but Cheng Yan refuses to fold. Cheng Yan glares back, ready to stand his ground even against the tribe's strongest fighter. Yabing smirks from the sidelines, openly bragging that she's going to get our girl kicked out. Gang completely flexes, declaring he'll beat them until they surrender. But our girl jumps right in front of Cheng Yan, absolutely screaming at the meathead to back off. She loudly calls out Moonstone's reputation, saying they supposedly never abandon the weak. The crowd of beastmen nods along, totally agreeing with her logic. She keeps cooking, declaring Moonstone should be the honorable backbone of all tribes. She completely wins the crowd over with her flawless speech. Then she drops the hammer, yelling that clearly those honorable rumors are complete garbage. She points a finger right at Gang, calling them shameful bullies for picking on a vulnerable clan. Helping Cheng Yan up, she boldly claims they don't even want to join a trash tribe like this anyway. Suddenly, Zilao steps out with killer aura, asking if someone is trying to challenge his authority. Gang instantly drops to his knees like a sack of potatoes, sweating bullets. Zilao publicly states the merge was his idea and dares anyone to step up, leaving the crowd in dead silence. He tries to handle it, but our girl stops him, wanting to settle the score herself. She marches right up to the kneeling giant and challenges him to a duel. The stakes are set: if she wins, her tribe stays; if she loses, they leave forever. Gang is totally flabbergasted by this tiny human. The crowd thinks she's completely delusional, but she just smirks at their underestimation. Yabing grins, thinking our girl is about to embarrass herself big time. Zilao nervously steps in, offering to just squash the guy for her. But she brushes him off, knowing Gang would be the laughingstock of the continent if he used full strength on a female. Holding Zilao's hand, she confidently promises to make her haters cry tomorrow. Later that day, she's gathering stiff leaves when Zilao accidentally jump scares her. She asks if he's mad about her reckless challenge, but he's just worried about the sharp plants cutting her. Realizing he's just being a massive softie, she watches him squat down to help. She admits the strength gap is massive, prompting Zilao to ask why she even bothered challenging the meathead. She explains she had to prove her tribe's worth or they'd be treated like garbage forever. She gives a confident smile, saying pulling off the impossible is exactly her kind of fun. Zilao's heart absolutely skips a beat, completely mesmerized by her boss energy. She playfully acts weak, saying she knows he'll protect her anyway, leaving him blushing hard. She then asks him to process the sharp agave leaves for her. It's her secret weapon. Meanwhile, Gang is practically dying carrying 1,000 heavy logs for training. Later that night, Zilao's little brother is peeking through some bushes, totally flustered by something he sees. Cheng Yan suddenly pops up right next to him, scaring the life out of the kid. The Birdman smoothly whispers that he just finished a secret mission for Yinuan and came to report back. Zilao's little brother tackles Cheng Yan, desperately whispering that they can't go to the tent yet. He wildly claims the chief and the new girl are totally in the middle of mating right now. Cheng Yan's face drops, realizing this is the perfect moment for Yinuan to lock in her status. The two eavesdroppers watch a totally misleading shadow cast on the tent, completely misinterpreting what's happening inside. Inside the tent, our girl is nervously glancing back, feeling insanely embarrassed. Zilao leans in close, smoothly whispering that it might hurt a little, but he'll be gentle. She completely short-circuits, her face burning bright red as she tells him to stop talking nonsense. But Zilao just grips the blanket tight, absolutely locked in on his task. Turns out, he's literally just picking scary bugs out of her hair while she complains about the wildlife. He jokes that the bugs are probably more scared of them, casually showing off a beetle before tossing it aside. Just as she tries to get up, Zilao tells her to freeze. He suddenly pins her down, leaving her absolutely terrified of his next move. She totally misreads the atmosphere, panicking that he's actually thinking about something naughty. But he just pulls back, asking if she's feeling hot and offering to open the curtains. He reveals he was just crushing up medicinal herbs to treat a poisonous bug bite on her leg. Feeling incredibly stupid, she quickly thanks him and dives under the blanket to hide her embarrassment before tomorrow's duel. But as she tries to sleep, she can't stop thinking about how fast things are escalating with this insanely hot chief. She vows to focus on finding a way home before she gets totally swept off her feet. The next morning, she meets Sha Gang in the woods, both of them looking completely exhausted. She smirks, telling the giant meathead they should get this over with since the crowd is waiting. Outside, the Moonstone and Bird Tribe members are waiting nervously, wondering why it's taking so long. Yabing smugly claims Sha Gang is probably just figuring out how to beat her without making it look too brutal. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream echoes from the woods, and Yinuan casually strolls out without a scratch. Yabing absolutely loses it, demanding to know if Zai Lao secretly helped her cheat. Our girl confidently points back to the woods, telling everyone to go look for themselves. She laughs to herself, proud that she hasn't just been slacking off for the past month. The crowd rushes into the woods, and they are completely stunned by what they see. Sha Gang and his buddies are literally on their knees, begging the great healer to teach them her ways. Flashback to the start of the fight, Sha Gang tells her to throw the first punch. She plays it cool, saying if he won't fight, she's just going to leave and claim victory. Enraged, Sha Gang charges forward but steps right into a hidden snare trap that instantly yanks him into the air. She casually asks if he likes her little gift, but the meathead is completely unimpressed. He easily snaps the vine with his bare hands and lands perfectly. She claps for him, totally faking her admiration. Sha Gang charges again, but suddenly wooden arrows shoot out of nowhere. He dodges them, absolutely shook by the speed and power of these weird weapons. He screams, asking how many traps she actually set up. She smirks, telling him there are literally too many to count. Refusing to lose face, Sha Gang tries to stick to the clear path but immediately steps on a fake floor and falls into a pit. She peers down, mocking him for being heavy enough to trigger the trap. Down in the pit, Sha Gang realizes the floor is covered in intensely sticky sap. She playfully drops a massive woven lid over the hole, telling him not to open it. She reveals she smeared honey all over the walls, meaning if he breaks out, a massive swarm of bees will instantly target him. The flashback shows she spent the whole month teaching the bird tribe how to build crossbows and traps. Back in the present, she humbly admits she just used knowledge from her world to win. Knowing she officially secured her place, she happily heads off to find Zai Lao to celebrate. She spots a butterfly landing on a sleeping Zai Lao. He's peacefully resting under a giant tree, looking absolutely angelic. She stares at him, completely mesmerized by how unreal he looks in the sunlight. Deciding not to wake him, she just smiles and lets her exhausted chief get some rest. She tries to quietly slip away, but he catches her hand. She realizes he wasn't actually asleep at all. She sits beside him, admitting she came looking for him on purpose. She proudly puffs out her chest to announce her victory against the meathead. But Zai Luo just gives her a deadpan nod, completely unfazed. She blushes, realizing he was literally perched in a tree watching her back the entire time. But his cold expression makes her panic, thinking she embarrassed his warrior tribe by using traps instead of fists. She quickly promises to teach all of Moonstone how to build her overpowered weapons. Instead of looking happy, he leans in intensely, asking who she really is since only the legendary Sky Tribe has this tech. She freezes as his eyes lock onto hers, terrified he thinks she's a spy. She desperately shakes her head, swearing these tools are completely normal where she comes from. He pieces it together, asking if she actually fell from heaven. She totally denies it, blurting out that she's just trying to find a way back home. That is the wrong answer. He instantly grabs her, completely triggered by the word leave. She tries to laugh it off, but his eyes literally glow with pure Yandir energy. He traps her against a rock, fiercely declaring she's never allowed to escape him. Before she can blink, he absolutely pins her to the grass like a predator. She stares up in shock, terrified by how unhinged he looks right now. Seeing the fear in her eyes, Zai Luo finally snaps back to reality, disgusted with his own aggression. He gently pulls her up, promising he'd never actually hurt her. But he still firmly wraps his arms around her, making it clear she belongs to him. Meanwhile, back at the camp, the little lion cub is starving and wondering where they are. Suddenly, Yinuan rides into camp on the back of a massive lion. She happily pats the giant beast, telling him not to be mad. A quick flashback shows exactly how she tamed him when he got too aggressive in the woods. She realized he was acting completely feral, driven by basic beast instincts. He started hugging her way too tight, ready to cross the line. She panicked, desperately trying to think of a way to cool off this overpowered lion. Remembering that young beastmen lose control of their human forms when they get too flustered, she hatches a wild plan. She takes a massive gamble and whispers that she'll be good to him. Then she completely flips the script, playfully pushing him back. He looks totally confused by her sudden confidence. She flashes a wicked smile and asks to take the lead. She orders him not to move and pulls out a literal foxtail plant. She starts mercilessly teasing him, brushing the fluffy weed right under his chin. It's super effective, the mighty chief turns beet red, completely short-circuiting. Back in the present, she proudly rides the giant lion, having literally forced him into his beast form out of sheer embarrassment. He growls at her to throw the foxtail away, but she keeps it as a hilarious trophy. The little brother runs up, totally confused as to why his big bro is stuck in animal form. The giant lion just aggressively turns his head away, refusing to explain his humiliation. Yinwen tells the kid to ignore him and reminds everyone it's dinner time. But the great chief just sulks on the ground, completely refusing to move. She playfully slaps his tail, realizing he is actually throwing a massive tantrum. Even though she won the battle, she feels a tiny bit guilty for absolutely wrecking his ego. Over at the food pile, she asks if there's any meat left for her. Yabing and her mean girl squad block the food, smugly claiming she hasn't contributed enough to get the good cuts. Playing mind games, they hand over a massive pile of rejected animal organs, thinking it's a huge insult. But Yenuin's eyes literally turn into stars, absolutely hyped to get all this premium barbecue material. She quickly skewers the organs and starts roasting them, making the entire camp drool over the insane aroma. The little brother tries to hoard it all, but she generously hands out the skewers, instantly becoming the most popular girl in the tribe. The little brother takes a bite, and his eyes practically shoot fireworks because the barbecue is just that good. Even Yabing stares from the sidelines, secretly drooling over the scraps. The other girls crowd around Yinwen, begging her to teach them how to grill. Yabing seethes with jealousy, realizing she can only count on Sha Gang to get revenge now. But then Sha Gang happily trots over, bringing a massive load of firewood just for Yinwen. To rub salt in the wound, someone hands Yabing a skewer, raving about how amazing the cooking is. Even her own lackeys tell her to chill out because Yinwen is actually useful. Yabing snaps and slaps the food away. Sha Gang watches her tantrum, looking completely lost. Suddenly, chaos erupts as everyone who ate the food drops to their knees, clutching their stomachs in pure agony. Zailuo rushes to the scene, demanding to know what happened. Yabing immediately points her finger, accusing Yinwen of intentionally poisoning the entire tribe. Zailuo coldly tells her to shut up and turns to Yinwen to hear her side. Yinwen looks at the groaning beastmen, suspecting a massive case of food poisoning. Yabing totally twists her words, screaming that Yinwen just confessed to poisoning everyone. The little brother steps in to defend her, pointing out that he ate the food too and feels totally fine. The great shaman steps out, calmly stating that a great healer wouldn't make such a rookie mistake. Yinwen shakes her head, confirming they definitely reacted to something in her food. Yabing smirks, thrilled that Yinwen is basically digging her own grave. Meanwhile, back with the other tribe, Ida leans in, clearly waiting for a kiss from her new guy. But he totally fumbles the bag, asking if she doesn't want him to kiss her, making her instantly annoyed. He catches her hand and promises not to cross any lines until she fully accepts him as her mate. She smiles, deciding to let it slide, and suggests they go deal with the rest of the food. Ida starts absolutely throwing down in the kitchen, stir-frying the pork intestines he was going to throw away. She hands him a plate, but he sweats nervously, remembering that the spicy fruit she used made him sick for days last time. He nervously takes a bite, and his mind is completely blown by how delicious it is. Ida proudly explains that just a tiny spoon of the spicy fruit elevates the entire dish. He asks how she knows so many cooking methods, and she plays it off, claiming the beast god enlightened her. She sweats nervously, surprised he actually bought that ridiculous excuse. They run off to show the tribe, and everyone celebrates because this new food prep means they won't starve during winter. Back at Moonstone, Zailuo is still aggressively leaning into Yinwen, refusing to give her space. She desperately pushes him away, panicked that she's not ready to accept a literal beastman as a mate. But his intense stare proves he is completely locked in and not backing down anytime soon. She playfully pushes his face away, refusing to let him win this easily. She completely curves him, telling him to keep preparing while she runs off to do her own thing. Elsewhere, Yabing cries to her father, the great shaman, furious that he took Yinwen's side during the poisoning drama. Her dad bonks her on the head with his staff, trying to knock some sense into her. He tells her she needs to accept reality, but she screams that she deserves the chief just because of her title. Her dad clutches his chest, giving her the ultimate emotional damage. He admits if he were chief, he'd pick Yinwen too. Back to Yinwen, she goes looking for Zailuo, hoping to ask him a serious question. But Yabing storms out of the tent and immediately starts screeching at her to get out. The great shaman shuts his daughter down again, telling her to leave so he can talk to the great healer. Yabing tries to argue, but her dad barks a single out, absolutely destroying her pride. She stomps past Yinwen, radiating pure salty hatred. Yinwen tries to apologize for the drama, but the shaman brushes it off, saying his bratty kid needed the reality check. He then looks at her seriously, asking what she actually came here for. Yinuen's expression drops, and she boldly asks if he knows anything about her original world. Later, Zailuo is barking orders at his men, telling them to stop using weak wood for their traps. He tells them to go cut down snakewood instead, while Yinuen hides behind a tree, spying on him. He casually turns his head toward her hiding spot, making her completely freeze in panic. She clutches her chest as her heart hammers, absolutely roasting herself for acting like a coward around him. In a quick flashback, the great shaman admits he knows about another world, but the details are strictly confidential. He explains that only the chief, who attends the secretive Hundred Beasts festival, knows the actual truth. He reveals Zailuo also has a hidden connection with the hyper-secretive Pyre tribe to gather top-tier intel. But Yinwen realizes asking Zailuo is a terrible idea, remembering how unhinged he got the last time she tried to leave. She internally screams, panicking that she's about to be caught eavesdropping and punished on the spot. But Zailuo just turns around and gently asks what she's doing. He completely misunderstands the situation, pulling her into a sweet hug because he thinks she came looking for him on her own. She frantically denies it, absolutely red in the face, and tells him to put her down before the whole camp sees. Zailuo just laughs, teasing her for getting so easily embarrassed. He takes her hand, excited to finally show her the massive defensive walls they built to keep out the sky beasts. They arrive at a giant wooden barricade, and she's completely stunned by the sheer size of it. But she totally exposes herself as an outsider when she asks what a sky beast actually is. Zailuo looks down at her fondly, realizing her old tribe must have protected her from the brutal reality of this world. He explains that sky beasts are massive, unstoppable monsters that specifically hunt beastmen for food. Flashbacks show the horrific battles where these giant beasts absolutely massacred the beastmen, forcing all tribes to migrate west. Zailuo explains that Moonstone, as the strongest tribe, was left behind to guard the border. Their only job is to stop the sky beasts from crossing the mountains every single winter. Yinwen starts trembling, realizing how incredibly dangerous it is for Zailuo and the tribe to live here. She immediately starts brainstorming, knowing that these basic wooden fences won't stand a chance against giant monsters. She grabs his hands, desperately telling him their current defenses are literal garbage. She excitedly pitches her idea to build a much taller, indestructible wall using actual engineering methods from her world. She starts mapping out spiked trenches to cripple the beasts before they even reach the gate, and suggests building long-range catapults to bombard them from a safe distance. She even proposes extracting a scent the beasts hate, compressing it into a liquid, and turning the entire tribe into a giant repellent zone. Zailuo stares at her, completely dumbfounded by her genius, and asks where she actually came from. She realizes he totally tuned out her master plan just to stare at her face. He promises they'll start building her crazy traps tomorrow, but right now, he wants to take her somewhere special. He carries her up to a massive, towering tree that overlooks the entire Krija mountain range. They sit together on a branch covered in purple flowers, watching giraffes drink from a glowing lake. Zailuo stares at her, thinking about how just looking at her makes him insanely happy. He admits that at first he just thought she was a lucky gift from the gods, but now he's completely obsessed. He confesses that the thought of her leaving makes him panic, realizing he's losing his mind over a female just like his father did. But he leans in close, whispering that this feeling is way too wonderful to resist. He pulls her tight against his chest, his heart pounding like crazy, and finally says the words, "I like you." Yinwen freezes, totally shocked that this fiercely possessive beastman is actually dropping a genuine love confession. She realizes she can't lie to herself anymore. She definitely likes him back, but she's terrified because they belong to two completely different worlds. Trying to deflect, she asks why he even likes her in the first place. She points out they barely know each other, so how could he possibly choose her at first sight? Zailuo just smiles, calmly stating that the union between a male and female is the most natural thing in the world. He looks her dead in the eye and says he simply doesn't need a complex reason to want her. She gets defensive, arguing that Yabing or any other girl from his tribe would logically make way more sense. Zailuo gently lifts her chin, a total smirk on his face, and asks if she's actually just jealous. She totally blue screens, her face turning crimson as she completely denies it. She tries to act tough, claiming that by his logic, she could just go be with Cheng Yan or anyone else. Wrong move, Zailuo instantly slams his hand against the tree, pinning her down. He gets deadly serious, warning her not to even think about it, proving his possessiveness is definitely tied to his love. He explains that in his world, if a male wants a female, he just uses brute strength to conquer her and force submission. And then he spends the rest of his life protecting her from other males. A flashback shows two beastmen absolutely throwing down in a brutal fight over a female, proving it's purely instinctual. Zailuo sighs, admitting he always saw Yabing as a sister, literally drawing a line in the sand to keep her away from his space. The great shaman tells Zailuo to hurry up and pick a chiefess, but the chief coldly replies he doesn't need one to lead. Back in the present, Zailuo looks deeply at Yinuan, admitting he fully planned to live alone forever until he met her. He softly kisses her, acknowledging that everything might be moving too fast for her to process. He completely opens up, saying that from the moment they met, his eyes have only ever seen her. He holds her close, genuinely asking if this intense, overwhelming feeling is what humans call love. Yinuan's heart races as she stares into his eyes, finally realizing how deeply he actually cares about her. But his sincerity hits her like a truck, filling her with crushing guilt. She knows that the second she finds a portal home, she'll completely abandon him without hesitation, and she hates herself for it. Completely unaware of her inner turmoil, Zailuo promises to give her the absolute best life possible. He gently holds her in the flower field as the sun sets, swearing to always keep her warm. He tells her he knows she hates being restrained and promises never to force her into anything. He vows to stay the strongest male in the entire tribe, just so she can have the ultimate freedom to do whatever she wants. Yinuan is completely touched. Literally no one in her entire life has ever spoken to her like this. Even though she knows she'll eventually break his heart, she can't fight her feelings anymore. She holds his hand, deciding to finally be brave and accept his love for however long it lasts. The next day, chaos breaks out at camp as the tribe physically restrains a girl who's trying to run away. Yinuan and Zailuo rush to the scene, demanding to know what's going on. The crowd immediately parts as the chief steps up. Zailuo glares at the trembling girl on the ground, asking what the hell she did. The great shaman drops a bombshell. This girl, Sang Yu, secretly gave away their winter food reserves to a rival tribe. Zailuo looks absolutely furious, asking her if she understands the massive consequences of her betrayal. Sang Yu stutters, but her mate desperately jumps in to shield her, begging for mercy. The guy promises to hunt extra meat to repay the debt, completely willing to take the fall for her. But the crowd gossips that Sang Yu was actually tricked by her secret lover from the other tribe, making her mate look like a total fool. Yinuan watches in shock, realizing Sang Yu literally sold out her own people for a guy who just used her. Sang Yu bows her head, sobbing and begging for forgiveness, claiming she was deceived. But Zailuo is ice cold, stating that mistakes of this level require absolute punishment. He brutally exiles her on the spot, telling her she's no longer part of Moonstone and must survive on her own. Sang Yu screams in terror, begging Yinuan to save her because getting exiled during the Forbidden Hunting Month is a literal death sentence. Yinuan knows she's right, but she also knows she can't undermine Zailuo's absolute authority in front of the tribe. Zailuo glares at the crying girl, ordering her to let go of his chiefess immediately. Sang Yu snaps, crying that she accepts the exile but demands to know if anyone cares why she betrayed them. She points at her mate, screaming that Moonstone's rule forcing partners to stay together forever is absolute torture when there's no love left. She grabs Yinuan's arm, desperately asking if she understands the agony of being trapped with a guy she hates. Yinuan freezes, totally shocked to learn that beastmen marriages are completely unbreakable. Zailuo finally steps in, reminding Sang Yu that literally no one forced her to choose that specific mate in the first place. He ruthlessly calls out her excuses, telling her to stop blaming the tribe's rules for her own selfish betrayal. Zailuo orders the guards to drag her away and throw her out of the territory once she's packed. The shaman sighs, reporting that they lost nearly half their winter food supply because of her stunt. The tribe panics, knowing it's too dangerous to hunt right now because the massive sky beasts are migrating. Zailuo's eyes turn deadly as he confirms it was the Bright Fish tribe that stole their meat. He instantly mobilizes 2 hunting teams, declaring they're marching over there right now to take back what's theirs. Before they leave, Yinuan runs up with a massive sack of emergency medicines for the raiding party. But Sang Yu coldly rejects the bag, refusing to accept any help from the new chiefess. Yinuan ignores the attitude, shoving the bag into her arms and telling her to use it to survive out there. Sang Yu looks at her with a mix of pity and warning, telling Yinuan that marrying into Moonstone is a path of no return. The raiding party marches out, and the little brother asks Zailuo why he didn't say goodbye to Yinuan. Zailuo just smirks, claiming he already did. A quick flashback reveals he completely slipped away without telling her he was leaving for a literal war. Zailuo touches his chest, secretly hoping she'll actually be upset that he left without a proper goodbye. Yinuan sneaks into Zailuo's tent, happy she managed to catch him. She shows him a brand new, portable crossbow she designed just for him. Zailuo steps close behind her, wrapping his arms around her to help her aim. He totally uses the weapon test as an excuse to get incredibly close, making her blush furiously before finally taking the shot. The arrow absolutely obliterates a tree trunk, and Yinuan is shocked by the sheer power of it. Zailuo leans in, telling her to take care of herself while he's gone. He asks her to wait for his return so she can finally give him an answer about becoming his official mate. Later, her brother catches her looking worried and asks why she didn't just go say a proper goodbye. A flashback shows she did say goodbye in secret while he was sleeping, preferring a quiet moment over a dramatic farewell. But right now, she sees Sangyu, the exiled traitor, wandering off on her own. Sangyu is completely lost in the wilderness, having no idea which way is safe. She starts to regret her betrayal, thinking about just turning back. Suddenly, Yinuan points a loaded crossbow directly at her face. Yinuan aggressively shoves her to the ground. Sangyu completely panics, thinking Yinuan followed her out here to execute her in secret. Yinuan glares, telling her to stop moving and making it clear she isn't playing around. Suddenly, two massive, terrifying shadows loom right behind Sangyu. Sangyu screams, furious that Yinuan didn't warn her there were literal giant snakes behind her. Yinuan grabs her and they bolt, telling the traitor she's lucky she showed up to save her miserable life. They finally lose the snakes, and Sangyu collapses in the dirt, asking if Yinuan really came out here completely alone. Yinuan smirks, saying that's absolutely impossible. Out of nowhere, a voice tells them to catch more snakes because they haven't eaten this delicacy in ages. Sangyu is totally confused, wondering why rock pythons are even out during this season. Yinuan mercilessly roasts her, pointing out that someone with so little courage had no business sneaking off alone. Sangyu glares, clearly still holding a massive grudge despite just being saved. Yinuan just raises an eyebrow, completely unbothered by her attitude. Sangyu totally breaks down, sitting in the dirt and throwing a massive tantrum, sobbing about how unfair her life is. Yinuan sweats nervously, feeling like she's somehow the villain in this girl's twisted narrative. Meanwhile, Cheng Yan inspects the dead snakes, realizing they are wandering around during mating season, which makes zero sense. He explains they usually lay eggs in caves before winter, meaning something incredibly dangerous must have driven them out. Recognizing the threat, Zailuo immediately orders the hunting party to double-time it back to camp. A tribesman whispers that he's never seen the chief so eager to return, assuming it's because he misses Yinuan. He recalls that Zailuo was always a completely emotionless, cold leader until recently. A flashback reveals Zailuo's childhood was absolute misery because the previous chief wouldn't let him see his own mother. When young Zailuo snuck out to see her, he was brutally punished by being starved for 3 days. The tribesman remembers feeling incredibly sad for the kid, knowing he grew up completely devoid of love. While the other kids played, Zailuo was forced to stay isolated in his tent, studying nonstop. He was forced to fight massive beasts as a literal child while everyone else rested. And the absolute worst part was when the former chief just abandoned the tribe with his wife, leaving a young Zailuo to handle everything alone. The tribe tried to get him to find a partner for years, but he literally rejected every single female. The tribesman smiles, saying Yinuan finally made their cold, unfeeling chief look like an actual person with a heart. He admits that seeing the mighty chief act a little silly over a girl is actually super reassuring. Suddenly, another scout calls out to Zailuo, saying he found something massive. They inspect a massive paw print in the mud, counting the toes and realizing it doesn't belong to any normal animal. The scout's face drops in pure horror as he realizes it belongs to a legendary sky beast. Zailuo instantly barks orders, realizing the monsters are attacking early and they need to return right now. He notes they didn't see any beasts on the way here, meaning the monsters must be actively avoiding the hunting party. Zailuo's face goes pale as the terrifying truth hits him. The sky beasts are heading straight for the defenseless camp. Back at the tribe, Yinuan is frozen in absolute terror, begging whatever gods are listening not to let her die today. A massive, terrifying roar echoes out, ordering the beast to let her go. Cheng Yan absolutely dive bombs out of the sky, roaring at the massive beast to get lost and leave Yinuan alone. But the beast is way too fast, slamming a giant paw right next to her head. Realizing they're totally outmatched, she screams for Cheng Yan to fly higher and stay away from the trees. Ignoring her, Cheng Yan heroically chucks a massive boulder straight at the beast's head. The monster completely ignores the rock, turning its glowing red eyes right toward her as she freezes in pure terror. Cheng Yan swoops down in a desperate final dive, extending his hand to grab her before the beast strikes. Suddenly, Yabing runs into frame, screaming for the birdman to pull up and retreat to the tribe. Yinuan refuses to leave the other scouts behind to die. She yells that if they fly back to camp right now, they'll literally lead the sky beast straight to the tribe's front door. Cheng Yan scoops her up anyway, asking where the hell they're supposed to go if they can't go home. Meanwhile, deep in the Brightfish tribe's territory, massive, terrifying snakes slither through the trees. A barefoot guy with long blue hair casually touches down in the swamp, declaring it's time to dethrone the Moonstone tribe. Suddenly, a panicked scout runs through the marsh, screaming that a sky beast is coming. But instead of running, Yinuan casually rides into the swamp while standing directly on top of the blue-haired guy's head. Chengyan gently drops her down, and she bounces on the guy's head, noting how surprisingly soft it feels. The blue-haired guy is absolutely livid, screaming at her to get her dirty feet off him. Before he can act tough, the Moonstone scouts throw a literal lasso and completely trap him. The guy turns to Yinuan, desperately asking if she really needs to be this extra to get his help. He completely loses it, screaming at her to go away. He curses out his own scouts, calling them totally useless for bringing this chaotic girl straight to him. He internally cries about his ruined reputation, wondering how the mighty chief of the Bright Fish tribe ended up like this. He imagines the history books recording that he literally died in a swamp because a tiny female used his head as a stepping stone. The sheer embarrassment of it makes him want to curl up and vanish forever. Totally ignoring his crisis, Yinuan smiles brightly and reminds him he promised to be there if she ever needed anything. The guy glares at her with pure fiery hatred, swearing she's going to regret this the second he gets free. But Yinuan just calmly points out that he's currently sinking into a massive mud pit up to his neck. He screams at her to shut up as the gross, sticky swamp water rises. His tough guy act completely crumbles as he violently thrashes in the mud, literally gurgling for help. The birdmen grab his hair and yank him out of the mud like a giant screaming weed. He glares at Yinuan, absolutely fuming that this was her brilliant rescue plan. She innocently plays the victim, claiming she would have used a normal method if he hadn't already sunk so deep. He aggressively twitches, completely baffled by how she's spinning this to make it look like his fault. She awkwardly laughs, asking if they should pull him out completely or just leave him there. Grinding his teeth in pure rage, he finally gives in and yells at them to just pull. He completely loses his mind, threatening to shave her head bald the second he's fully out of the mud. The birdmen heave with all their might, trying to rip him out of the suction in one go. They finally pop him out, leaving the supposedly terrifying chief sitting in the dirt looking like a pathetic, muddy toddler. He fiercely grips his hair, completely devastated by this absolute humiliation. Yinuan awkwardly steps closer, offering to help wipe the mud off his face. He aggressively points at her, screaming at her to stay back. She looks up at him with massive, apologetic eyes, genuinely sorry for completely ruining his dignity. Seeing her so timid, he pauses, wondering if he actually managed to scare her. But he instantly doubles down on the tough guy act, reminding her she literally assaulted a tribe chief and has to pay. Even though he silently admits she's super cute, he refuses to let her off the hook that easily. Yinuan tilts her head, totally confused, and asks if he's actually the chief. He smirks, thinking he finally established some dominance, and tells her begging won't work. Instead of begging, she whips out a cloth and starts scrubbing his face, apologizing for not recognizing him under all the mud. He freezes as she gets close, totally caught off guard by how incredibly good she smells. The sweet floral scent completely overrides his anger, leaving him totally flustered. His brain completely blue screens, wondering why just being near her makes him feel so dizzy. The blue-haired chief slowly opens his eyes, totally disoriented after waking up in the dirt. Yinuan stands over him, brutally calling out his tribe for stealing their winter food while Zailuo was away. She casually wipes the mud off his face, mockingly asking who would ever believe his tribe was actually friendly. Then without hesitating, she shoves a cloth soaked in realgar, a highly toxic snake repellent, straight into his mouth. He gags, fiercely promising to kill her for this disrespect. But the toxin hits instantly and he completely passes out cold. When he finally wakes up, he finds himself totally trapped inside a massive vine cage. The Moonstone elders start sweating bullets, terrified that angering the second largest tribe will start an all-out war. The snake chief smirks from his cage, giving them one last chance to surrender. Yinuan just lets out a bored sigh, completely unfazed by his threats. He arrogantly declares that the rest of the tribe can live, but Yinuan is officially dead meat. She casually looks up at the trapped snake guy, totally unbothered. She cheerfully suggests they just dump his cage outside the walls to serve as a free snack for the sky beasts. He absolutely loses his cool, screaming at her for trying to literally feed him to monsters. She playfully twirls her hair, noting that if the beasts eat him, there won't even be a body left for his tribe to find. She coldly adds that since he stole all their meat, they definitely don't have extra rations to feed a prisoner anyway. He frantically looks around, screaming at the Moonstone guards to stop this absolute psychopath. Yinuan simply glances back, politely asking if anyone has objections to her execution plan. The little lion brother and Yabing just sweat profusely, terrified that she might feed them to the monsters next. Hearing zero objections, she smiles and orders the guards to throw the trash out. The guards literally carry the caged rival beastmen straight toward the front gates. Panicking, the snake chief finally cracks and screams he'll return the stolen food. But Yinuin isn't playing around, leaving him dangling on a rope high outside the defensive walls. She coldly reminds him the sky beasts migrated early this year, so hanging outside is a guaranteed death sentence. He desperately screams to be pulled up, absolutely terrified by something moving in the bushes below. Yinuin casually leans over the wall, noting that Moonstone wasted valuable hunting time dealing with his stunt. She demands to know exactly how he plans to calculate their heavy losses. Sweating heavily, he yells that he'll compensate them for everything. She keeps dragging it out, complaining that the women were too stressed by the betrayal to weave winter clothes. He violently grinds his teeth, promising to pay for the clothes too just to survive. She starts counting on her fingers, adding that they also lost a valuable female because of his spy scheme. Pushed to his absolute limit, the snake chief formally swears to the gods to repay all their losses within 2 weeks. Yinuin claps her hands, happily declaring a deal. She orders the guards to pull the esteemed guests back inside before they get eaten. As he collapses on the ground, she casually mentions the Realgar dose might have been a bit too intense. Suddenly, a furious voice roars from the woods, ordering everyone to stay away from her. Zailuo bursts onto the scene, frantically asking if Yinuin is okay. He scoops her up, and she asks why he abandoned the hunting mission to come back so soon. Zailuo just hugs her incredibly tight, his heart racing as he checks to make sure she's in one piece. She rests her head on his shoulder, learning he spotted Sky Beast tracks and sprinted all the way back in a complete panic. She blushes, realizing he literally dropped everything because he was terrified for her safety. She can feel his muscles completely locked tight from pure adrenaline. Hearing his heavy breathing, she gently hugs him back, assuring him she's perfectly fine. The tender moment is ruined when the little lion brother starts awkwardly poking Zailuo's back. The kid whines that Zailuo is interrupting his own lovey-dovey time with Yinuin, earning him a swift swat from the chief. A scout points out that Yinuin literally captured the rival chief all by herself. Zailuo looks at the muddy, traumatized snake guy and thinks he looks even uglier than usual. Later inside the tent, the snake chief violently crushes a cup in his hand, absolutely fuming. He tries to guilt-trip Zailuo, asking if he really wants to destroy the alliance between their tribes over one female. Zailuo just stares him down, hitting him with the ultimate reality check. A real friend wouldn't have raided their food supply the second his back was turned. Yabing mutters that Yinuin is secretly plotting to ambush Moonstone while the chief is away. The blue-haired chief totally calls her out, telling her to stop making baseless claims when all the evidence points to her own scheme. Yinuin stands up, telling the rival chief to stop wasting time and send his people to get the compensation goods. She casually threatens that if winter hits and the sky beasts attack, he'll be forced to stay stuck at Moonstone as a hostage. And with a wicked smile, she adds that the food and lodging fees for his stay will cost way more than his current debt. The rival chief practically vibrates with pure rage, blaming this scheming female for completely ruining his life. In his anger, he tries to rip off the binding rope, but Yinuin innocently asks if he really wants to break a sacred vow to the gods. Defeated, he throws the rope on the ground and angrily orders his men to march out, warning Yinuin she won't have Zailuo to protect her forever. But Zailuo just pulls her close, telling the rival chief to shut up because all that overthinking is literally making him go bald. After they leave, Zailuo warns Yinuin to stay alert, suspecting Brightfish is plotting something massive. He gently holds her hands, promising to protect her under his wings so no harm ever comes to her. Caught up in the moment, Yinuin pulls him in for a passionate kiss. Zailuo looks absolutely stunned, not expecting her to take the lead like that. She blushes, telling him that feeling his heartbeat again makes her incredibly happy. Without hesitating, Zailuo scoops her up bridal style, completely ready to take things to the next level. He looks deeply into her eyes and officially asks her to be his mate. Her eyes dart around in panic, completely caught off guard by him dropping the big question so soon. She nervously thinks about what happens if she says no. Reading her mind, Zailuo casually says that if she refuses, he'll literally just ask her countless times. He kisses her hand, promising he won't stop until she finally says yes. He presses his forehead against hers, asking if she could really bear to reject him after everything. Yinuin mentally slaps herself, desperately trying to stay clear-headed and not fall for his god-tier riz. But she admits it's basically impossible to resist his handsome face, perfectly shredded physique, and unmatched status. She knows he is objectively the absolute best choice for a partner in this entire world. He leans in dangerously close, softly whispering her name. Totally overwhelmed, she shoves his face away, screaming for him to wait a minute. She collects herself and tells him that good looks and power just aren't enough on their own. Zailuo looks genuinely confused, asking what else she could possibly want. She looks him dead in the eye and says they need to be together purely for love, and if that fades, they have to be able to separate. She apologizes for asking something so impossible in his culture, but she refuses to build a relationship on deception or pity. Zailuo's expression goes totally blank, and he admits he absolutely hates her logic. He presses her hand directly against his heavily beating heart, saying the mere thought of letting her go makes it hard to breathe. But instead of getting mad, he thanks her. He thanks her for being honest and actually taking the hardest first step toward understanding each other. She smiles, promising that she's genuinely willing to try and accept him in the future. But she insists they need way more time to truly know each other before making a permanent commitment. Meanwhile, back with the Bright Fish tribe, the scouts are panicking because their chief literally pulled out his own precious hair in frustration. They cry that a male's hair is his dignity, but one scout tries to cheer him up, offering to weave him a sick wig. The scout promises he definitely won't snitch to the females that the chief is wearing fake hair. The blue-haired chief absolutely explodes, screaming at his men to shut up before he kills them himself. One of the scouts nervously asks if they should really hand over the massive pile of supplies they spent months preparing. The chief aggressively slicks back his remaining hair, admitting they can't fight Moonstone head-on while trapped. The scouts start crying like babies, mourning the fact their chief got completely bullied by Zailuo's female. They swear loyalty, but he just ignores their sobbing, muttering that he wishes he could feed Yinuan to a sky beast. But then a devious idea hits him. The best way to destroy a fierce female is to make her fall madly in love with him and then cruelly dump her. He imagines Yinuan crying and begging him not to leave, completely crushing her pride. He smirks like an absolute villain, swearing to trample her ego into the dirt. He flexes his claws, declaring he definitely won't let her go easily. Back at Moonstone, Yinuan is bossing the builders around, telling them to make the defensive spikes way denser. A scout reports back, confirming they've patrolled the entire perimeter and found zero signs of sky beasts. Yinuan watches a massive eagle fly overhead, thanking the scouts but warning everyone to stay on high alert. The next day, Yinuan watches Zailuo from a distance, feeling like something fundamentally changed between them after their deep talk. She blushes, realizing that even though everything looks normal, her own feelings have definitely shifted. She recalls trying to explain modern dating to him, saying people from her world take time to know if they're right for each other. But in her mind, she pictures a Chibai Zailuo absolutely sobbing, refusing to accept that she could ever be with anyone else. She facepalms, feeling a little guilty for accidentally causing him so much panic. But honestly, she admits to herself that his intense loyalty is kind of cute, and she might actually end up staying for him. After all, even if she did find a way back to her original world, she realizes she literally has no one waiting for her there. She pats her cheeks, telling herself to stop overthinking and just focus on living her best life right now. Suddenly, she hears someone complaining loudly about having to do manual labor. It's the Bright Fish chief, absolutely shocked that the birdmen are actually following Yinuan's orders to build defenses. He smirks, hatching a devious plan to seduce Yinuan so he can steal the birdmen's loyalty and escape smoothly. He immediately drops his shovel, refusing to dig the trench and trying to act like a boss. He orders one of his own men to dig his section for him, completely slacking off. But when he looks down into the trench, he spots Yinuan setting up the massive wooden spikes. He instantly switches to his ultimate Riz mode, leaning against the fence with a handful of flowers, trying to look majestic. Yinuan pops up and completely ruins the mood, loudly complimenting him on how great his wig looks. His eye twitches violently, his pride taking massive damage, but he forces himself to stay patient for the sake of his plan. He strikes a pose, smoothly telling her that Moonstone doesn't appreciate her beauty if they're making her do heavy labor. Yinuan just stares at him, deadpan, instantly realizing this guy is trying to stir up absolute drama. He drops to one knee, offering his hand and smoothly promising to help her with whatever she needs. Yinuan fakes a blush, acting super touched, but internally she gets an absolutely evil idea. The chief smirks, thinking he completely won her over, and tells her to just give him an order. He mentally celebrates, fully believing his god-tier charisma just secured his escape plan. Yinuan flashes a terrifyingly bright smile, telling him she definitely won't hold back. Cut to the chief sweating bullets, carrying massive piles of heavy logs while Yinuan cheerfully encourages him. She hypes him up, loudly announcing that she'll literally carve his name into the wall so everyone knows he did all the heavy lifting. The other workers stare in complete confusion, wondering if the Bright Fish chief actually enjoys being tortured. They assume he must have some weird masochistic quirk since he ignores all the other females but obeys her every command. The workers agree not to judge his weird hobbies and decide to just let him keep working himself to death. Completely exhausted, the chief finally collapses by a tree, begging for a break. But as he slides down the trunk, he accidentally sits right on a massive pile of sharp wooden spikes. He screams in pain, internally cursing the heavens and wondering why he keeps getting absolutely wrecked around her. Yenuan innocently walks over, asking if he needs his men to carry him to the medical tent. He glares at her, complaining that he only got hurt because he was trying to impress her. He tries to guilt-trip her, pouting and asking if she's going to take care of him now. But Yenuan just sighs, completely unbothered, and tells him he's distracting the others from their work. She coldly asks if he seriously has nothing better to do than stare at her all day. She then points down, asking if he's just going to ignore his violently injured butt. In a desperate final attempt, he grabs her and pins her down in the flowers, trying to force a romantic moment. But Yenuan's face goes totally dark. She coldly orders him to let her go, stating she absolutely hates being touched without consent. He completely ignores her warning, leaning in close and whispering that females always play hard to get. She glares right back, warning him that if he doesn't stop, she'll make sure he never survives in Moonstone. He ignores the threat, absolutely determined to force her into submission. He gives a villainous smirk, asking what she's going to do if he refuses to let go. Yinwen's aura turns terrifying as she states that the second thing she hates is being threatened. Cut to the chief literally eating dirt, groaning in absolute agony while she stands over him. She dusts off her hands and glares at the workers hiding in the bushes, asking what they just saw. The workers start sweating buckets, violently shaking their heads and swearing they didn't see a single thing. Yinwen smiles sweetly at the broken chief on the ground, mocking him for wasting all that effort. She casually tells the workers that the chief's butt is hurting, so she's just letting him lie down and rest. As the bright fish chief faceplints into the dirt, Zailuo looks down at him, asking why he's getting more useless by the day. Zailuo coldly warns him that at this pathetic rate, he's going to lose his position as chief. Completely ignoring the guy on the ground, Zailuo turns to Yinwen, offering to take her somewhere special since she worked hard all day. As they walk away, the snake chief furiously beats the ground, screaming their names and swearing absolute revenge. Suddenly, his lackeys run over, completely oblivious to his rage, and ask if he's okay. They innocently admit they thought he actually enjoyed doing all that heavy lifting. He completely snaps, screaming at his men and calling them a bunch of useless idiots. But the anger combined with his injuries is too much, and the mighty chief absolutely passes out cold, sending his scouts into a full panic. Meanwhile, Zailuo leads Yinwen deep into the woods, revealing a massive hidden open-air hot spring. He holds her close, explaining that the spring was always here, but he specifically had it set up and decorated just for her. Yinwen's eyes light up, excitedly shouting that she absolutely loves it. Taking advantage of the mood, Zailuo smoothly asks if she wants to soak in the hot spring together tonight. Her face instantly turns completely red, totally caught off guard by his bold request. She mentally panics, wondering if they're actually moving fast enough to be this open with each other. Zailuo slips into the water and gently pulls her in, jokingly offering to serve her, which only makes her freak out more. He stands up in the water, absolutely flexing his god-tier physique under the moonlight. Yinwen covers her face, bleeding from the nose as she realizes this hot spring is literally a thirst trap designed to break her willpower. But she quickly snaps out of it, striking a peace sign and boldly deciding that if faced with temptation, she'll just dodge it. Zailuo yells for her to stop as she playfully swims away, completely blowing off his romantic setup. Suddenly, she panics, realizing the water is way deeper than she thought and she can't touch the bottom. Zailuo instantly catches her, effortlessly holding her above the water. He pulls her close, his eyes totally locked onto hers, smoothly reminding her that the pools here are dangerous. Absolutely mortified, Yinwen spits water right in his face, furiously asking why he didn't mention the depth before she jumped in. Ignoring the water on his face, Zailuo gently wraps her leopard print skirt back around her, telling her it fell off. Meanwhile, in a much less romantic pool, the bright fish chief is soaking his injuries, completely drained and complaining about Yinwen's ruthlessness. A scout awkwardly massages his back, mentioning that the Moonstone locals gave him really weird looks when he asked for a healer. The chief realizes he's a total laughingstock and curses Moonstone for looking down on him. Suddenly, he notices a figure sitting in the pool across from him and realizes it's Yinwen. In full panic mode, he desperately sinks under the water so she won't notice him. But then his pride kicks in, and he angrily asks himself why he's literally hiding from a female. He rises from the water, narrowing his eyes and swearing he won't hold back his rudeness this time. He smoothly parts the bushes, trying to look as cool as possible while delivering a dramatic one-liner. But he instantly cringes, completely disgusted to find Zailuo sitting there instead of Yinwen. He awkwardly asks himself why Zailuo is there, realizing he completely misread the situation. Sweating bullets, he tries to save face, stammering that he thought Zailuo was someone else. But Zailuo just gives him an incredibly smug, victorious smirk, silently flexing that he knew the snake chief was hiding there the whole time. The blue-haired chief storms off, throwing a massive tantrum in his head, furious that Moonstone thinks they can control him. He violently beats the floor of his tent, screaming for Zailuo to wait for his ultimate revenge. He switches gears, flashing an absolute villain smile as he plots his next move. He decides that the angrier Yinwen gets, the more fun it is for him to mess with her. But suddenly his vision blurs, and he wonders why Zailuo's smug face keeps flashing in his mind. In a totally dazed state, he remembers Zailuo just turning around and completely ignoring him at the hot spring. He clutches the edge of the barrel, yelling to an empty room, asking if Zailuo is too much of a coward to face him. A quick flashback reveals what actually happened. Zailuo told the snake chief to look down at the water. Zailuo stood under the moonlight, looking like an absolute boss, and ruthlessly warned the snake chief to never think about Yinuan again because she was already claimed. Back in his tent, the snake chief clutches his arm, realizing Zailuo just completely humiliated him again. His scouts rush into the tent, absolutely panicking and asking if there's any cure for their chief's bizarre illness. The chief slams his fists on the floor, screaming that the Moonstone tribe tricked him into a hot spring that actually made his injured butt swell up even worse. Suddenly, Yinwen's voice cuts through his tantrum, calmly suggesting he save his energy and stay quiet if he wants to feel better. She gently places her cool hand against his burning forehead, and the furious chief completely freezes, utterly shocked that this terrifying female is actually treating him with kindness. Yinwen promises to cure his swelling, starting by bringing his fever down. But the second she pulls her hand away, the snake chief feels an intense, weird emptiness. He watches her walk away, secretly thinking she's actually really cute when she's quiet, and curses Zailuo's luck for finding her first. He tries to remind himself that he's the dignified chief of Bright Fish, but his injured butt quickly reminds him of reality. He cries out in pain, literally shivering on the floor like a total baby while his scouts try to comfort him. Yinwen smiles like a villain, holding a small knife and proudly announcing she just drained the pus. She casually tells his scouts they can carry their broken chief away now. As they drag him off, he furiously reaches out to her, screaming that his butt only got hurt because he helped her build the wall. He demands to know if she's going to take responsibility for him. Yinwen glares at him, asking if she didn't make herself absolutely clear last night. A flashback shows Zailuo holding her tight, while she explains that after he left the hot spring, the snake chief suddenly appeared. The snake chief dramatically claps his hands, mocking Zailuo's passionate speech and calling it a thrilling performance. His scouts eagerly agree, roasting Zailuo for liking the abuse, while the snake chief dramatically claims hanging around him is too dangerous. The scouts nervously tell their boss he's acting completely crazy for saying that out loud. But the snake chief is loving the drama, demanding they spill even more tea. He suddenly gets angry again, calling the Moonstone tribe totally shameless. He assumes Zailuo is just trying to gross him out with the romance to make him leave, calling the tactic way too naive. He squares up to Zailuo, declaring he's officially determined to steal Yinwen because Bright Fish needs a great healer too. He smirks, admitting he has a strange urge to win, and tells Zailuo to go ahead and try to stop him. Back in the present, the two chiefs are literally shooting lightning from their eyes in an intense stare-down while Yinwen complains about them keeping secrets. The snake chief strikes a pose in a bed of flowers, winking at Yinwen and smoothly telling her to come find him anytime she wants to talk. He mentally praises his own strategy, thinking his retreat will perfectly stir up her curiosity. He struts away, feeling incredibly cool, completely ignoring his crying scouts who are just happy his fever broke. Zailuo sweats nervously, warning Yinwen that the snake chief might actually have some serious mental issues. He quickly changes the subject, pulling her clothes and asking if she wants to join him for the beast god sacrifice. Yinwen is totally confused, having no idea what this sacrifice actually is. Meanwhile, the snake chief is practically getting carried by his men, groaning in pain while they praise his impressive exit. Back at camp, Yabing suddenly approaches Yinwen and asks if she wants to join the sacrifice together. A quick flashback shows Yabing's previous crush nervously rejecting her invitation to the festival. He tells her to stop waiting for the chief because he already has a chiefess and will never accept another female. Feeling incredibly awkward, he makes a terrible excuse and literally runs away from her. Yabing watches him go, quietly admitting they both look like absolute fools. In the present, the snake chief smirks, watching Yabing and thinking that aside from Yinwen, he's totally irresistible. He leans in super close to Yabing, turning on the charm and asking her to tell him her story. Later, Zailuo and Yinwen are walking through the camp, surrounded by smiling, cheering tribespeople. Zailuo smiles warmly, telling her everyone is just happy she officially accepted his invitation to the festival. Yinwen gets curious, asking if this event is really that big of a deal. He hugs her from behind, softly saying of course, and promises to take her somewhere special. While waiting, Yinwen spots a tiny tiger cub rolling around on the floor, absolutely acting cute with her. She immediately squats down to pet it, melting over how adorable baby animals are. Zailuo crosses his arms, looking slightly annoyed, and asks if she prefers tigers over lions. Yinwen ignores his jealousy, happily squishing the cub's face and saying no one could refuse something this cute. Suddenly, Yabing walks in, explaining that the tribe brings all newborns here for unified care during their first 3 months. Yinwen is totally surprised to see Yabing actually working instead of throwing a tantrum. Yabing explains she spends most of her time here, and since everyone is busy prepping for winter, they are severely short-staffed. She awkwardly hands Yinwen a tiger cub, asking if she'd be willing to stay and help out. Yinwen is super suspicious, wondering why her biggest hater is suddenly inviting her to hang out. Yabing sighs, finally admitting defeat. She says Zailuo wouldn't want her even if Yinwen wasn't around, so they might as well get along. Yinwen side-eyes her, thinking it over, totally feeling like hanging out with her former enemy is going to cause absolute chaos. Yabing nervously nudges her, warning her not to act too fond of the little tiger cub because Zailuo might actually get jealous of a literal baby. Yinwen immediately turns around and mutters that tigers aren't nearly as cute as little lions. She mentally giggles, realizing Zailuo is absolutely 100% jealous of a baby animal. Yabing brings up another reason she wants Yinwen's help. Many cubs are getting sick from the cold, and they desperately need a healer's care to survive the winter. Yinwen's heart melts when she sees a group of shivering cubs, knowing that without medicine they won't make it. She instantly agrees to stay. Yabing smiles like she just won the lottery, dumping 3 cubs onto Yinwen before she can regret her decision. Yinwen sighs, realizing she just got completely played by a girl who can barely even form a polite sentence. To her surprise, Yabing sincerely admits she envies Yinwen for being able to save people, build traps, and basically do anything. She sadly looks down, admitting that compared to Yinwen, she feels completely useless. Yabing finally accepts that she's outmatched, saying it completely makes sense why Zailuo chose the great healer over her. Yinwen literally slaps the pity party out of her, telling her that everyone is unique and has their own strengths. She points out that Yabing definitely isn't short of suitors in the tribe. But Yabing angrily crosses her arms, stubbornly declaring she only likes Zailuo. Suddenly, Yabing realizes she has to go get food for the cubs and tells Yinwen to watch them. As she leaves, Yinwen smiles, thinking Yabing's straightforward, blunt attitude is actually kind of cute. The snake chief suddenly appears out of nowhere, smoothly asking why she doesn't just choose a tiger beastman if she loves the cubs so much. He walks out of the shadows, casually sitting down and pointing out that being with Zailuo means she'll only ever have little lions. Yinwen completely ignores his bait, keeping her attention fixed on the tiger cub trying to climb her leg. She softly says that cubs are the most precious treasures of any tribe because their energy makes life feel alive. The snake chief's aura instantly drops, remembering how his own giant snake form looks absolutely terrifying next to a tiny cub. He mentally curses, wondering why she's suddenly avoiding him like the plague when he doesn't even eat people. He gently tugs on her hair, trying a different approach, asking if the goddess would ever consider helping Bright Fish after she's done with Moonstone. Yinwen plays totally dumb, asking what on earth he's talking about. He drops his smug act, sitting next to her on a log, and reveals that his father told him she literally fell from the sky into the sacred lake during worship. He admits that both his father and Zailuo genuinely believe she is a direct blessing sent by the mother goddess. The snake chief looks completely exhausted, explaining that his tribe's offspring are becoming incredibly difficult to nurture. He recalls how during the ceremony, they begged the goddess to bless their lineage so they wouldn't die out. Suddenly, he saw something fall from the sky and sprinted toward the lake like a madman, hoping the goddess actually answered his prayers. But when he got to the water, he found absolutely nothing, convinced his mind was just playing tricks on him. He looks deeply into Yinwen's eyes, softly admitting he never expected that the blessing he saw that day was actually her. Just as the romantic tension peaks, Yinwen violently yanks her hair back, absolutely disgusted, and reminds him that touching a female in Moonstone means getting publicly whipped. But he just leans in closer, dropping his voice and asking if she isn't even a little bit curious about why he's really here. Yinwen coldly shoots him down with 2 words, not curious. He tries to reset, asking if they can start over since he clearly left a terrible first impression. He even tries to prove he's a caring guy by aggressively petting the tiger cub. Back at the main camp, the little lion brother frantically tugs on Zailuo, swearing the snake chief has terrible intentions toward Yinwen. A flashback shows the little brother absolutely panicking when he saw the snake chief wandering around the nursery. Zailuo brushes it off, confidently stating that Yinuan would never give a guy like that a second look. The little brother screams that his big bro is way too confident, warning him that persistent, sneaky guys always win over good girls eventually. He warns Zailuo that the snake chief is definitely the type to scheme his way into her heart. Back at the nursery, Yinuan is looking around, trying to figure out who called for her. The little brother's voice echoes in Zailuo's head, warning that the snake chief might create fake emergencies just to get alone time with Yinuan. He imagines the snake chief pretending to be helpless in a pit or trying to win her over with food. The little brother warns that the snake chief could even use the cute cubs to manipulate her. Zailuo finally gets annoyed and bonks his brother on the head, telling him to stop overthinking. But suddenly Yabing walks by, cheerfully carrying a heavy pot of water. Zailuo freezes, his eyes narrowing as he realizes Yabing isn't with Yinuan at the nursery. Yabing nervously stammers that Yinuan is taking care of the cubs while she runs errands. She smiles softly, promising she was just immature before and won't cause any more trouble. Zailuo coldly warns her not to do it again, his mind already racing. The little brother's warning echoes in his head again. He might purposely get close to Nuan, making chances to be alone. Zailuo absolutely sprints to the nursery, bursting through the tent flap to see the snake chief holding Yinuan by the shoulders. Zailuo loses his mind, violently grabbing the snake chief and screaming at him not to touch his female, while Yinuan just stares at them like a confused chibai. Zailuo literally rips the snake chief and Yinuan apart, completely ignoring the fact that the snake chief is screaming in pain. A massive, jealous aura erupts from Zailuo as he drops a giant stack of heavy logs right between them. The snake chief quickly recovers, boldly claiming that the goddess belongs to the entire continent, not just Moonstone. Yinuan is totally confused, thinking she was only called a goddess because she literally fell out of the sky. Ignoring the rival chief, Zailuo reaches out and gently tells Yinuan to come here. Without warning, he pulls her in and kisses her right in front of everyone. Zailuo looks the snake chief dead in the eye and proudly declares, "She likes me." He pulls her even closer, adding that they both only love one person and will never part. Yinuan's face turns totally red, burying her face in his chest because this public display of affection is way too embarrassing. The snake chief violently gnashes his teeth, desperately trying to ruin the moment by pointing out that Yinuan is way too small to mate with a lion. Yinuan completely freezes, absolutely mortified by the word mate. The snake chief sniffs the air, realizing Zailuo hasn't actually claimed her yet. He immediately starts throwing shade, asking Zailuo if he's actually impotent, completely mocking his masculinity. He smoothly turns to Yinuan, asking if she wouldn't prefer a much gentler partner like a silver snake for the upcoming beast god sacrifice. Yinuan panics, having absolutely no idea that the sacrifice actually involves mating. The snake chief raises an eyebrow, realizing Zailuo totally kept her in the dark. Zailuo glares with pure murderous intent, ordering the snake chief to get out immediately. The snake chief chuckles as he leaves, happily noting that the goddess really knows absolutely nothing about their world. He walks away, leaving a parting shot that while Zailuo might lie to her, he never will. A flashback quickly explains the lore. 4 great gods protect the beastmen. They govern food, birth, war, and evolutions. And the supreme beast god rules over all of them. Every year, during the beast god sacrifice, all beastmen uncontrollably transform into their animal forms to mate with their partners. But because the lion-tiger tribe is so massive, they can literally only mate within their own clan, or they have to attend the festival completely alone. Back in the present, the snake chief smirks, wondering what Yinuan's beast form will actually be. Yinuan shivers, terrified by the thought of being forced to transform and mate like a wild animal. Zailuo tries to calm her down, but she is completely freaked out. She violently shoves him away, screaming his name in absolute betrayal. Zailuo tries to reach for her, but she looks at him with pure disappointment. He desperately tries to explain that he never planned to mate with her during the sacrifice. He just wanted to receive the gods' blessing together. Outside, the snake chief smirks like a total villain, thrilled that he accidentally exposed Zailuo's massive secret. Inside, Yinuan tells Zailuo she is actually furious that she had to learn about something this important from a rival. Zailuo looks completely heartbroken and softly apologizes. Yinuan sighs, admitting she knows he didn't intentionally try to deceive her. Zailuo's eyes instantly light up with hope. She gently touches his chest, telling him that after all this time, she completely trusts his character. Zailuo looks relieved, swearing he would never lie to her on purpose. But the snake chief is listening from outside, thinking all men are liars. He hopes Yinuan isn't actually silly enough to just forgive Zailuo that easily. Yinuan glares toward the entrance, loudly telling the eavesdropping snake chief to mind his own business. The snake chief groans, annoyed that she's still so incredibly stubborn. Yinuan turns back to Zailuo, telling him she doesn't care what anyone else says, but honesty is the most important thing to her. Zailuo looks completely mesmerized by her maturity. She smiles softly, telling him she trusts him. But she firmly asks that they discuss everything beforehand from now on, because being kept in the dark feels terrible. Zailuo fiercely hugs her, promising he will never hide anything from her ever again. Outside, the snake chief aggressively kicks a tree, absolutely furious that his master plan to ruin their relationship completely failed. He glares into the woods, declaring that trust is an illusion and he's going to personally completely shatter hers. Sometime later, the snake chief wanders into the woods but freezes when he sees Yinuan waiting for him. Yinuan smiles sweetly, telling him she knew he put in a ton of effort just to make sure she found him here. The snake chief turns into a tiny chibai, yelling at Yinuan for using arrows just to get his attention. A flashback shows Yinuan literally shooting arrows at him, forcing him to dodge right into her trap. He crouches on the ground crying, screaming at her not to hit his face. Yinuan stares down at him, sighing that he's way too timid for someone who causes so much trouble. She drops the tough act and tells him she just came to ask him a question. She gets straight to the point, asking him to tell her everything he knows about the goddess. He scoots away nervously, asking why she doesn't just ask Zailuo instead. Yinuan looks down, admitting that asking Zailuo right now would only make him anxious. She flashes a sweet smile, claiming that asking the snake chief is basically the same thing anyway. He clicks his tongue, annoyed that she thinks he's just a convenient backup option. But he quickly recovers, smoothly suggesting this is the perfect chance for them to get to know each other again. He finally starts explaining the lore, saying that since the dawn of the Beastmen, the memory of worshipping the four great gods has been burned into their blood. We see an epic shot of a massive, ancient temple carved into the side of a mountain, where early beastmen offer sacrifices. The snake chief explains that wherever the supreme beast god appeared, everyone felt profound, heartfelt admiration. A giant glowing figure of the beast god walks among the kneeling tribes, exuding absolute power. The beastmen truly believed that no matter what nightmares they faced, the beast god's barrier would protect them from any danger. But one day, the god completely vanished without a trace, leaving behind only his divine messenger, the Bababibu beast. The tribes were thrown into absolute panic, feeling like abandoned children until the Bababibu beast descended from the temple. Right before their eyes, the golden fox-like creature transformed into a stunning young girl. She brought the gospel of life to the beastmen during their darkest era, teaching them how to survive. The snake chief finishes the story, and Yinuan is totally confused. She asks why on earth he thinks she's the goddess if the goddess is a Bababibu beast. The snake chief smirks, turning toward the glowing hot spring, and says there's a much simpler way to verify her identity. Without warning, he absolutely swoops her off her feet. Before she can even scream, he tosses her straight into the deep water and dives in right after her. Under the water, he stares intensely into her eyes. He reveals the ultimate secret. Rumors say that on a full moon night, if the goddess touches water, she'll revert back to her true beast form. Meanwhile, in another part of the forest, a beastman clutches his head in agony, realizing his enemy's power is actually a spiritual attack. A winged beastman lands, carrying an unconscious ally, and says they got lucky because no other half-beasts were around to ambush them. But the winged guy suddenly points at his friend's arm, asking what the weird, glowing dust clinging to his skin is.